The ship was dying. Taiho knew this because the lights had stopped working 3 hours ago. The air was getting thin. Every breath felt like drinking through a tiny straw. He floated in the darkness of the control room, holding onto a metal bar to keep himself from drifting into the walls. 7 people had been on this ship when they left Earth. Now there was only Taiho. The engine explosion had killed everyone else in seconds. He had survived because he was in the bathroom. A stupid, simple reason. While his friends died, he was washing his hands. The emergency power gave him enough light to see the damage reports on the small backup screen. Hull integrity at 40%. Oxygen reserves for 6 more hours. Temperature dropping fast. The rescue signal was working. But the nearest human station was 2 years away at emergency speed. He was going to die out here, alone, in the cold dark between stars. Taiho pushed himself through the narrow corridor toward the medical bay. His fingers were already getting numb from the cold. He could see his breath making small clouds in the air. The ship had been warm once, full of laughter and music and the smell of Jisoo's cooking. Now, it was a metal coffin floating through nothing. In the medical bay, he found what he was looking for. A small silver case marked with red warning symbols. Inside were 6 injection tubes filled with blue liquid. The hibernation compound. Every species in the galaxy had tried to make something like this. A drug that could slow down the body so much that a person could sleep for years without food or water or even much air. Every species had failed. The body would shut down. The brain would die. No creature could survive such a deep sleep. But humans had made this compound anyway. They tested it on volunteers who knew they might not wake up. Taiho had read the reports. 14 people had tried it. 8 of them died. The other 6 woke up after 3 days with headaches and nosebleeds, but alive. 3 days. The longest anyone had survived. Taiho needed to survive for 2 years. He laughed. The sound was strange in the empty ship. It bounced off the walls and came back to him like a ghost. 2 years. 730 days. He would need a miracle. He would need his body to do something nobody had ever done. But what choice did he have? He floated to the emergency cryopod in the corner of the medical bay. It was small, barely big enough for one person. The pod could keep the temperature just above freezing and provide tiny amounts of oxygen. It had enough power for maybe 6 months if he turned off everything else on the ship. 6 months of power. 2 years until rescue. The math was impossible. Taiho began to take off his clothes. The hibernation compound worked better on bare skin. Every layer of clothing was extra weight, extra warmth the body had to maintain. The scientists had been clear about this. Strip down. Let the cold help the drug do its work. He shivered as he removed his shirt, then his pants, then everything else. The cold bit into his skin like tiny teeth. He had never felt so naked, so vulnerable. Not just his body, but his whole self. A small human floating in infinite space. Before he climbed into the pod, he turned on the recording device. The red light blinked at him like a patient eye. "Jiang," he said. His voice was shaking. "Sister, I don't know if you will ever see this message. I don't know if anyone will find the ship. But I want you to know that I am sorry. I'm sorry I won't come home. I am sorry I won't be there for your wedding. I'm sorry I won't meet your children." He paused. The tears on his face were already starting to freeze. "Tell Mom and Dad I love them. Tell them I was thinking of home at the end. Tell them I could see the mountains and the river and our old house with the blue door." He wiped his eyes. The cold was getting worse. He needed to hurry. "I am going to try something stupid now. The doctors would say it is impossible. They would say no human can survive this. But I am going to try anyway. Because that is what we do right? We try, even when it is hopeless. Even when the numbers say we should give up. We try. He picked up one of the injection tubes. The blue liquid glowed faintly in the darkness. If I wake up, I will find my way home. I promise. If I don't wake up, please don't be sad for too long. I had a good life. I saw things most people never see. I walked on other worlds. I touched alien soil. I was part of something bigger than myself. He pressed the injection tube against his neck. His finger found the button. Goodbye, Jiyoung. I love you. He pressed the button. The blue liquid entered his blood like ice water. Immediately, his heart began to slow. His vision started to blur. He climbed into the cryopod with the last of his strength and pressed the activation switch. The lid closed over him like a glass coffin. The cold wrapped around his bare body like a blanket made of snow. His thoughts became slow and thick. He could feel his body shutting down, piece by piece, like a house turning off its lights room by room. His last thought before the darkness took him was simple. Please let me wake up. Then there was nothing. Just silence. Just cold. Just a naked man floating through the stars in a dying ship, refusing to give up, even when giving up was the only logical choice. The universe watched and waited. Light. There was light. Soft and golden and warm. Taiho tried to open his eyes, but they felt heavy, like someone had put coins on them. His body did not want to move. His mind was swimming in thick fog. Where was he? The last thing he remembered was cold. So much cold. The cryopod. The injection. The darkness. He forced his eyes open. The light hurt. Everything hurt. His muscles felt like old rubber bands that had been stretched too far. His throat was dry as desert sand. He tried to speak, but only a small sound came out, like a broken whisper. Something moved near him. A shape, then another shape, then more shapes. They were all around him, looking down at him like he was a bug under glass. "He is waking up," said a voice. The words were strange, like they were being translated through a machine. After all this time, he is finally waking up. Taiho blinked. His vision was clearing now. He could see the shapes better. His heart began to beat faster. They were not human. The first creature was tall and thin, with skin like blue glass and wings made of crystal that caught the light. The second was short and wide, covered in brown fur with 6 arms and 4 eyes. The third floated in the air like a jellyfish, its body glowing with soft purple light. Taiho screamed, or tried to scream. The sound that came out was weak and broken. "Please do not be afraid," said a new voice. This one was softer, kinder. A figure stepped forward through the crowd of aliens. She looked almost human. 2 arms, 2 legs, a face with features he could understand. But her skin was pale silver, and her eyes were solid black, like pools of ink. "My name is Yuna," she said. "I chose this name because I studied your culture. I wanted you to feel comfortable when you woke up." Taiho tried to sit up. His arms shook with the effort. "Where am I?" he managed to say. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "You are in a medical facility," Yuna said. "On a station called the House of Healing. You are safe. No one will hurt you. How long?" Taiho asked. The question burned in his chest. He needed to know. "How long was I asleep?" Yuna looked at the other aliens. Some of them made sounds that might have been whispers. She turned back to Taiho. Her black eyes showed something that might have been sadness. 847 years, she said. The words hit Taiho like a hammer. He could not breathe. 800 years. Everyone he knew was dead. His sister, his parents, his friends. Earth itself might be completely different. Everything he had ever known was gone. That is impossible, he said. No one can sleep that long. That is what we thought too, Una said. Your ship was found drifting in deep space 200 years after you went to sleep. You were still alive, still sleeping, still breathing, one breath every 3 hours. Your heart was beating once every 2 minutes. Your body had found a way to survive that no one thought possible. Taiho looked down at himself. He was lying on a silver platform that felt warm and soft, like it was made of clouds. He was still naked. His body looked thin and pale, but it was his body. He was alive. You became the greatest mystery in the galaxy, Una continued. Scientists from 40 different species have studied you. They watched you sleep. They measured everything about your body. They tried to understand how you survived. And? Taiho asked. Did they figure it out? Una smiled. It was a strange smile on her silver face, but it was real. No, she said. They could not explain it. Your body simply refused to die. Your cells kept working when they should have stopped. Your brain stayed alive when it should have faded. You are impossible, Taiho, and yet here you are. Taiho looked around the room. The aliens were still watching him. The crystal-winged creature, the furry 6-armed being, the floating jellyfish. They were looking at him like he was something precious, something important. Why are you all staring at me? He asked. Because you are famous, Una said. Every child in the galaxy knows your name. They call you the Sleeper. You are proof that life can survive anything. You are hope. Taiho did not feel like hope. He felt cold and scared and very, very alone. He wrapped his arms around himself, suddenly aware of how exposed he was. Can I have some clothes? He asked. The aliens looked confused. They turned to each other and made strange sounds. The furry creature scratched its head with 3 of its arms. Clothes? Una asked. Most species in the Galactic Union do not wear body coverings. We did not think you would want them. Taiho felt his face grow hot. Humans wear clothes, he said. We do not like being naked in front of strangers. How interesting, Una said. She seemed genuinely curious. Your embarrassment is fascinating to us. We have watched you sleep naked for centuries. We did not know it would bother you. It bothers me, Taiho said firmly. Una nodded. She spoke to someone outside the room in a language Taiho did not understand. A few minutes later, a simple white robe was brought to him. He put it on with shaking hands. The fabric felt strange, like water that had learned to be solid, but it covered him. Better, he said. Una sat down next to his platform. You must have many questions, she said. I will answer them all. But first, I need to tell you something important. What? Taiho asked. Humanity, Una said. Your species. They did not just survive while you were sleeping. They became one of the greatest forces in the galaxy. They are everywhere now. They changed everything. Taiho stared at her. His people. His strange, stubborn, impossible people. They had made it. They had reached the stars and beyond. I want to see them, he said. I want to see what we became. Una stood up and offered him her silver hand. Then come with me, she said. There is much to show you. Taiho took her hand and stepped off the platform. His legs were weak, but they held him. He was alive. Against all odds, against all logic, against everything the universe had thrown at him, he was alive, and he was not going to waste this second chance. The Archive of Species was the largest building Taiho had ever seen. It floated in space like a small moon made of glass and light. Inside were millions of records about every species that had ever joined the Galactic Union. Every history, every discovery, every war and peace and moment of change. Una guided him through corridors that stretched forever. Strange creatures walked past them, some floating, some crawling, some moving in ways Taiho could not understand. They all stopped to look at him. They all whispered his name. The sleeper, the human who would not die. Here, Yuna said, stopping at a large circular room. The walls were covered with screens showing images and words in hundreds of different languages. This is the Hall of Human History. Everything your species has done since joining the Union is recorded here. Taiho stepped into the room. The screens came alive around him, showing pictures and videos and recordings. He saw ships with human flags flying through space. He saw cities built on planets with purple skies and green suns. He saw humans shaking hands with aliens, signing treaties, building things together. 200 years after you disappeared, Yuna explained, a human ship made first contact with the Galactic Union. It was not a government ship or a military ship. It was a family. A man named Junho, his wife Hana, and their 3 children. They had gotten lost and stumbled into Union space by accident. The screen showed the family. They looked scared but determined, standing on the deck of their small ship while alien diplomats surrounded them. The Union did not know what to make of them, Yuna continued. Humans were small and weak compared to most species. They did not have natural weapons or armor. They could not survive in extreme environments. By all logic, they should have been a minor species, forgotten in a corner of the galaxy. But we weren't, Taiho said. It was not a question. No, Yuna said, and her voice held something like wonder. You were not. The screens changed. They showed humans building colonies on frozen worlds where the temperature never rose above -60 degrees. Humans swimming in oceans full of acid that would melt other species in seconds. Humans walking through forests filled with creatures that ate metal and stone. You adapted, Yuna said. No matter what world the Union showed you, no matter how dangerous or hostile, humans found a way to live there. Species that had existed for millions of years could not do what humans did in a few generations. Taiho watched a video of a human woman planting a flag on a planet made entirely of volcanic rock. Lava flowed behind her like rivers of fire. She was smiling. That world was called Death's Door, Yuna said. Every species in the Union had tried to colonize it. Every species had failed. Humans built a city there in 30 years. They called it New Hope. The screens showed more images. Humans fighting in wars alongside alien allies. Humans discovering new medicines that save billions of lives across the galaxy. Humans building bridges between species that had hated each other for thousands of years. You became negotiators, Yuna said. Peacemakers. When 2 species wanted to destroy each other, they called the humans. Because humans understood war, but they also understood forgiveness. They knew how to fight, but they preferred to talk. Taiho felt tears in his eyes. His people. His beautiful, stubborn, impossible people. They had done so much. What about me? He asked quietly. What do they say about me? Yuna waved her hand. The screens changed again. This time, Taiho saw his own face looking back at him. Paintings and sculptures and digital recreations. His image was everywhere. You became a symbol, Yuna said. The sleeper. The man who refused to die. When humans faced impossible challenges, they remembered you. They said that if Taiho could survive 800 years alone in the dark, then they could survive anything. But I didn't do anything, Taiho said. I just fell asleep. I got lucky. Perhaps, Yuna said. But luck needs something to hold on to. Your body held on. Your will held on. When every law of biology said you should die, something inside you said no. That is not just luck, Taiho. That is human. The door to the hall opened. 2 people walked in. Humans. Real humans. Alive and breathing and looking at Taiho, with tears streaming down their faces. The first was a man with gray hair and kind eyes. He wore a formal uniform covered in medals and ribbons. The second was a woman with long black hair and glasses. She carried a small recording device. "I am Dawn," the man said, his voice shaking. "I am the human ambassador to the Galactic Union, and this is my Ray, our head cultural historian. We have waited our whole lives to meet you." Then they did something that shocked Taiho. They knelt. Both of them, down on their knees, heads bowed low. "Please," Taiho said, stepping forward. "Please, stand up. I am just a regular person. I am not special." Dawn looked up. His eyes were wet. "You are wrong," he said. "You are the reason we are here. You are the reason humanity never gave up. Every human child learns your story. Every human parent tells their children that when things are darkest, they should remember the sleeper. I was just trying to survive," Taiho said. "I was scared. I thought I was going to die." "That is what makes it meaningful," Myre said, standing up. "You were scared, and you tried anyway. You were dying, and you fought anyway. That is what being human means." Taiho did not know what to say. He had closed his eyes expecting death. He had woken up a legend. The gap between those two things was too big for him to understand. Dohun put a hand on his shoulder. "Come," he said. "There are many people who want to meet you. But first, there is something you need to see. Something about your old crew." Taiho's heart clenched. His crew, the 7 people who had died while he was in the bathroom. He had tried not to think about them, but they were always there in the back of his mind. What about them? He asked. Dohun smiled sadly. "They are heroes too," he said. "And they deserve to be remembered." He led Taiho out of the hall toward whatever came next. And for the first time since waking up, Taiho felt something other than fear and confusion. He felt hope. New Seoul was beautiful. The city spread across a valley between 2 mountain ranges on a world with 3 small moons. Towers of glass and steel rose toward the purple sky, connected by bridges that floated on nothing. Flying vehicles moved through the air like metal birds. And everywhere, humans walked alongside aliens, talking and laughing and living together. Taiho stood on a balcony in the government building, looking down at the streets below. 3 weeks had passed since he woke up. 3 weeks of medical tests, interviews, meetings with important people, and constant attention from cameras and reporters. He was tired. More tired than he had ever been in his life. "You look sad," said a voice behind him. Taiho turned. A young woman was standing in the doorway. She had short hair dyed bright blue and wore the uniform of a ship pilot. Her eyes were sharp and curious. "I am Yoonji," she said. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I've been trying to meet you for days, and the security people keep telling me to go away. Why did you want to meet me?" Taiho asked. Yoonji walked closer and leaned against the balcony railing. "My grandmother," she said. Her name was Somin. She was on the rescue ship that went looking for the Wanderer's Hope. Taiho felt his breath catch. The Wanderer's Hope, his ship. The ship where his friends had died and he had almost died too. "The rescue ship never found you," Yoonji continued. "They searched for 2 years, but your ship had drifted too far." My grandmother was heartbroken. She spent the rest of her life telling people about the mission. She said that even though they failed, the search was worth it. Because trying is always worth it. "I am sorry," Taiho said. "I am sorry they could not find me in time." "No," Yoonji said firmly. "You do not understand. That mission inspired an entire generation of humans to become explorers. My grandmother's failure led to success after success. Because people saw that humans would search for years just to find one person. They saw that we do not leave anyone behind." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small metal object. It was a pin shaped like a ship, old and worn from years of handling. This belonged to my grandmother, Unji said. She wanted to give it to you if she ever found you. She died 20 years ago, but I promised her I would finish her mission. She held out the pin. Taiho took it with trembling hands. The metal was warm from Yunji's touch. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you, Yunji said back. For surviving. For giving my grandmother something to believe in. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the city move beneath them. Then a commotion at the door interrupted the peace. 3 people in black uniforms pushed into the room, followed by Dohan looking worried. What is happening? Taiho asked. The leader of the group stepped forward. He was a tall man with cold eyes and a face like carved stone. I am Hyunwoo, he said, leader of the pure way, and I am here to expose the lie of the sleeper. Dohan tried to step between them. This is not the time or place for this discussion. There is never a good time to tell the truth, Hyunwoo said. He looked at Taiho with disgust. You are not a hero. You are not a symbol. You are just a man who made a stupid decision and got lucky. The real humans who deserve praise are the ones who worked and fought and built this civilization, not someone who just fell asleep. Taiho felt the words hit him like punches, because part of him agreed. He had not done anything special. He had just been desperate and scared and willing to try something crazy. You represent everything wrong with old humanity, Hyunwoo continued. The recklessness, the stupidity, the belief that luck and stubbornness can replace planning and wisdom. We need to move past this myth. We need to tell people the truth. And what truth is that? Yunji asked, stepping forward with anger in her eyes. That the sleeper is just a man, Hyunwoo said. Nothing more. The room was silent. Everyone was looking at Taiho, waiting for him to respond. Dawn, Yunji, Hyunwoo. The cameras that were surely recording everything. Taiho looked down at the pin in his hand. A small ship. A symbol of hope and searching and never giving up. You're right, he said quietly. Hyunwoo smiled, thinking he had won. I am just a man, Taiho continued. I was scared when I got in that pond. I cried. I said goodbye to my sister because I was sure I would never wake up. I am not a hero. I am not special. I am just someone who did not want to die. He looked up at Hyunwoo. But that is exactly the point, he said, and his voice grew stronger. I am ordinary. I am weak. I am flawed. And I still survived. Because being human does not mean being perfect. It means being terrified and trying anyway. It means facing impossible odds and refusing to give up. He walked toward Hyunwoo until they were face to face. You say my survival was luck. Maybe it was. But luck only helps those who put themselves in a position to receive it. I could have done nothing. I could have sat in that ship and waited to die. But I chose to fight. I chose to try. He turned to face the cameras. And that is what I want people to remember. Not that I am special, but that any of you could do what I did. Any of you could face the darkness and choose to fight. Because that is what humans do. That is what we have always done. We fall down and we get back up. We fail and we try again. We die and somehow, against all odds, we survive. The room was completely silent. Then Yunji started to clap. Dawn joined her. The sound spread through the room and beyond, through the cameras, to every corner of New Seoul and beyond. Hyunwoo stared at Taiho for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away without another word. Dohan approached Taiho. That was well said, he said quietly. I meant every word, Taiho said. I am not a legend. I am just a man who got lucky. But maybe that is enough. Maybe that is exactly what people need to hear. He looked out at the city, at the thousands of humans and aliens living their lives below. He was still scared. He still did not know what his place in this new universe would be. But he knew one thing for certain. He was done running from his own story. It was time to embrace it. 1 year had passed since Taiho woke up from his long sleep. 1 year of learning, adjusting, and finding his place in a universe. That had changed completely. While he dreamed in the cold dot, now he stood in the observation deck of a brand new ship called the Eternal Hope. Through the massive windows, he could see the edge of explored space. Beyond that edge was nothing but darkness and mystery. No one knew what waited out there. No species had ever gone further until today. Are you nervous? Yuna asked, walking up beside him. She had resigned from her position at the House of Healing to join this mission. She said that after watching Taiho sleep for decades, she wanted to see what he would do when he was awake. Terrified, Taiho admitted. But I have learned that being scared is not a good reason to stop. Yuna smiled her strange silver smile. You humans have an interesting relationship with fear. We have learned to use it, Taiho said. Fear tells us something matters. If we were not afraid, we would not be trying hard enough. The door behind them opened. Yunji walked in wearing her pilot uniform, followed by Doan and Mireille. They had all volunteered for this mission. The first joint human-alien expedition beyond the galactic rim. Systems are ready, Unji reported. We can jump whenever you give the word. Everyone looked at Taiho. He was not the captain of this ship. He was not even an official crew member. His title was cultural consultant, which meant he was there to observe and advise. But somehow, everyone still looked to him for guidance. He thought about the past year, the things he had seen and learned, the memorial service he had attended for his original crew, where he had spoken their names aloud for the first time since waking up. Jizu, Minsu, Hyang, Dongwu, Sumi, Wanjin, Jayan, his friends, his family. Gone for 8 centuries, but never forgotten. He thought about his sister Jiang. She had lived a full life after he disappeared. She had married, had children, had grandchildren. She had told his story to everyone who would listen. She had died believing he would be found someday. And she had been right. He thought about all the humans who had grown up hearing about the sleeper. The children who dreamed of space because of him. The scientists who pushed the boundaries of what was possible. The explorers who refused to say that anything was too far or too dangerous. You know what I was thinking about this morning? He said to the others. What? Mireille asked. I was thinking about that first moment. When I woke up in the cryopod 800 years ago, not knowing if I would survive. I was completely alone. I was naked and cold and more afraid than I had ever been in my life. He paused, looking out at the stars. And now I am here, surrounded by friends from different species, standing on a ship that could not have existed in my time, about to go somewhere no one has ever been. How did this happen? How did that scared, dying man become this? You kept going, Yuna said simply. That is all. That is all. You just kept going. Taiho nodded. That is what humans do. We keep going, even when it hurts, even when it seems pointless, even when every logical part of our brain tells us to stop. We keep going. He turned to face his crew, his friends, his new family. When I was young, my father told me something. He said that the universe does not care about us. It is not cruel, and it is not kind. It is just big and empty and cold. But he also said that this is exactly why we matter. Because in a universe that does not care, we choose to care. We choose to love and hope and fight and dream. We make meaning where there is none. He took a deep breath. That is what this mission is about. Not just exploration. Not just science. It is about proving that the universe cannot break us. No matter how dark the night, we will find a way to light a candle. No matter how far the distance, we will find a way to cross it. No matter how impossible the odds, we will find a way to beat them." He smiled. A real smile, full of hope and fear and determination, all mixed together. "Let us go see what is out there." Yoonji grinned and ran to the pilot's seat. Dohan and Mireille took their positions at the monitoring stations. Yuna stayed beside Tayo, watching the stars with her dark eyes. "Jump drive charging," Yoonji announced. 30 seconds to departure. Tayo felt his heart beating fast. 848 years ago, he had closed his eyes, expecting death. Now he was about to leap into the unknown, alive and awake and ready for whatever came next. 10 seconds, Yoonji said. Tayo reached up and touched his chest, where he had pinned the small ship emblem that Yoonji's grandmother had wanted to give him. A connection across generations. A symbol of hope that never died. 5 seconds. Around the galaxy, billions of beings watched the broadcast. Humans and aliens alike, holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen. Jump. The ship disappeared in a flash of light. It tore through the fabric of space and emerged on the other side, in a place no living creature had ever seen. Stars that had never been named. Worlds that had never been touched. An entire universe waiting to be discovered. Tayo stared through the window at the impossible beauty before him. New stars. New possibilities. A new chapter in the story of all living things. Back in the galaxy they had left behind, a child tugged at her parents' sleeve. "Do you think they will come back?" she asked. Her parent smiled and pulled her close. "They are human," the parent said. "They always come back." And somewhere in the darkness beyond the edge of everything known, Tayo laughed. He was scared. He was excited. He was exactly where he was supposed to be. The universe had tried to kill him once. It had failed. Now it was time to show the universe what a stubborn, impossible, beautiful human could do. The adventure was just beginning.